Hello, hello. Come on in, beautiful people. So today I want to dive headfirst into the world of resiliency. This is your inner strength. Okay, everybody has it in them. It's how you've really done anything in your life. Okay, but when all of the big storms are coming, this is where you are going to get the grace and the courage to move through them and not be totally lost in the process. Okay, at its core, your ability to harness some resiliency, and it's something to be harnessed because, like I said, you have it in you. I'm not teaching you anything. I'm not like, here's your book on how to be resilient. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks today. But you have it in you, and it's like your own superhero. Okay, it is your ability to bounce back from challenges, from setbacks. And arguably, and I'm sure you have lots of evidence of this in your life, where you've bounced back so much stronger than you were before whatever the challenge was happened. Think of a time in your life where you have had to really lean into your resiliency. What did you learn about yourself? What did you learn about yourself? I remember, I think of the time when, I decided to resign at my corporate job and lean in and really hone in on my own business. I learned a lot about myself. Even though I had 2 little kids and my husband was a shift worker and all the things, that was me harnessing my resiliency. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about what I was capable of doing as I built the business, while also having those areas of my life feel the way I wanted them to feel. Maybe yours was a professional example. Maybe yours is a personal example. I think of when it was in a 6-month period, and I talk about this in my book, how there was this 6-month period where within this time, it was when I was working in corporate, and my mom and my daughter both key people in my life were having major health things happening all at once. Maybe that's happened for you. Notice how I didn't say to you. There's a difference. Things are happening for you in your life to build up this skill called resiliency. But it's up to you to cultivate this superpower within you. And it's going to start with a major mindset shift. Because what has to happen is you have to stop seeing obstacles as roadblocks. Because you have a choice. You can either go, oh, that's in my way, picture yourself in the car and the roadblock, or I can drive around it, or I can just take the detour. We can choose to view them as opportunities and learn and grow from them. But it's a choice. And you all know people that refuse to see opportunities. It's so much easier to go, this is the problem. These people are the problem. It's because of them. And again, I get it because I used to be that person. I did it with a smile on my face and people would go, oh, you're so positive. In my head, I was blaming everybody. The reason I didn't have the life I wanted was because of somebody else or some circumstance or some ... It stemmed from when my parents got divorced at the age of 2. I'm throwing out all the big guns here. Okay. The fact is everything that's happened in your life from the moment you entered this world happened for you. Your soul knew who your parents were going to be, knew who your siblings were going to be, knew Like it knows all this stuff. It chose it because your soul, your spirit, it wants growth. It wants to evolve. It wants to create. It wants to experience. That's why it said, okay, I'll sign up for the human experience. It sounds great. But within the human experience, in order to keep growing and evolving, you have to like tap into the superpower. Because the fact is your humanness, while you be out there peopling, it needs you to do this, right? Like, so you take example, like from even like prioritizing sleep and exercise to like nourishing your body with nutrition, practicing mindfulness. These are all choices that contribute to your resiliency, right? When everybody's freaking out about their health, it's like, guys, this isn't new. We know, and I think the pandemic world has like shown us at some point you're going to be exposed to something. You just like, if it's not one thing, it's the next thing. Don't freak out about it. Just like know what tools you have. It'll build up your resiliency. Eating fast food 8 days a week, not building up resiliency, right? Like it's the same sort of thing. If you need like a physical example of your body of like, when you do this, this happens. Like I know for me, like I value sleep. Like I've never, and even my mom used to tell me this all the time, even as a child, I never devalued sleep. It was never a thing. I was always very clear on like, this is my bedtime. Y'all need to go. Nothing's keeping me awake. Even like anybody who hung out with me in university, I was like the first one in bed. I take it very seriously. But I know that my next day starts the night before. So I want to build up resiliency within me. I'm like, I know this about myself. Okay, so like what are your circumstances and what do you prioritize so that you can be full on resilient the next day? Because here's the thing, we don't have to go at this alone either. Like, do you have a really strong support network? It's like having a team of cheerleaders cheering you on no matter what, even while you're trying to figure it all out. We had the most brilliant mastermind yesterday. We have Pursuit Mastermind on Wednesdays, and it was just the most brilliant mastermind where everybody came together. You could feel the energy. You could feel it. It was like magnetic. And I love that. And some of you are going, yeah, but I don't have that. Well, you could just come join us. Okay, so there's that. And maybe for you, it's like a specific friend or a family member. Maybe it's time to hire a coach. Like I will always have a coach. Okay, but reach out for support if you're just like, I am not tapping into my resiliency muscle. That is not a thing because you are a product of your environment. And so many people are like, oh no, I have my family. But just because they're your family doesn't mean that they're a supportive network. Like, you know whether they are or not. You've been with them arguably your whole life. But it'll make all the difference so that you're not constantly focusing on like fighting off all the bad guys. If we're like talking about our superpowers, right? And you can just stand there rocking your cape. And it allows you to overcome anything that happens. Because there's always going to be speed bumps on the road to resilience. Constantly. But here's the secret sauce. Setbacks aren't the end of the road. They're just the detour. And the more you've built up your resiliency around it, you then can go, okay, like if you're on a trip to your goal, and anybody who's worked with me knows I've given this analogy many times. Okay, if your goal is to drive somewhere, you're starting in your driveway, you're just going to turn left. You don't need to know every road to get there. When you've built up some resiliency and some persistence and some clarity on where you're going, and you guys have to understand this, the clearer your goal or destination is, the less resiliency starts to take care of itself. The more clarity you have. And 98% of people don't have clarity. They have it's like murky. They're like, no, I want this. I'm like, okay, tell me about it. They can't. Well, it's because I have to know all the steps first before I can tell you about any of it. That's not true. Because the steps will be given to you like clearer and clearer and clearer the closer you get. And again, the more you tap into this, the more resilient you will become. And it'll help you to bounce back from anything stronger. So that while you're on your drive to your destination and a construction worker comes out with this big sign and says, stop right there, you can't go this way, you don't pull over to the side of the road and just start crying about it. A lot of people do this. They don't know how. They're just like, but this is the only road I know to get there. This is the only way I know to go. And some guy standing there, some gal is standing there with their stop sign telling me to turn around. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Well, no, they're actually giving you a detour. Take it. But I don't know about you. I said there was a point I could have just honestly stayed on the side of the road for years just crying about it. It's easier to sit there and cry about it and complain about it and blame the construction worker, blame the government because they didn't do something with the road, blame. It's a lot easier to do that. But you have the detour within you. So what I want you guys to do is I want you start to develop almost like your personal resilience plan. What can you do today to start practicing resiliency in your life? Because it's a muscle. Think of every time you come to hang out with me here at the Mind Gym. We're going to exercise some muscles. Okay, it's a muscle. Use it or lose it. We don't actually lose it, but it becomes very weak. Okay, and I want you to make a decision on your environment. Set some standards, for crying out loud. What do you tolerate? What don't you tolerate? What kind of people do you tolerate? What kind of, I know for me, it took Dave and I, pretty much, we loved heat. We've always loved heat. Not being able to travel for 2 years during the pandemic, we set standards around what we tolerate when it comes to the weather, even real quick. Okay, but set standards. Because when you're in the environment, it makes everything else and going for all the things so much easier. Makes it so much easier. Right now, if it feels hard, it's because you're making it hard. You're making it hard because you're the cause. I know that's a hard pill to swallow, eh? It's a big one. But it's the truth. Your current life is a reflection of what you've been thinking about and your standards. You look at your health, you look at your bank account, you look at your relationships, you look at where you live, who you hang out with, all a reflection of decisions that you've made based on your standards. You don't like those, set new standards and stick to them. And you're going to need resiliency because there's going to be people telling you that you can't have it. You're going to have people telling you, who do you think you are, making changes like this in your life. You're going to have society who's like thriving in mediocrity going, that's not the way we do things. It's not the way we do things. And you're going to have 2 legs to stand on. You're going to have a foundation. If you need help with it, that's why I'm here. I got you. Thanks for joining me today, you guys. Have an amazing day.